A very good morning, just past 10 by the clock this Wednesday morning. We're back again with another edition of News on the Hour over the next 60 minutes. This is your first comprehensive show where we take a look at all the events that are scheduled for the day, taking a look at Prime Minister's big ticket event, especially when it comes to Gati Shakti. It's going to be a master plan there for urban cities with Delhi leading the way. Lots to look forward to, especially when it comes to that huge project that's going to be unveiled today. Also in the field of IMF projections, India getting a big plus, a big thumbs up there, especially when it comes to projections for 2021-2022. In sports, IPL qualifier 2 action between two teams there, Delhi taking on Kolkata in that do-or-die battle. But first up, let's take a look at the top headlines at the top of this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan for Multimodal Connectivity in New Delhi. All departments now have visibility of each other's projects through a centralized portal. Multimodal connectivity to provide integrated and seamless connectivity for movement of people, goods and services. India's cumulative vaccination coverage achieves 96 crore landmark milestone. Over 96 crore 43 lakh vaccine doses administered across the country so far. 50 lakh 63 vaccines administered in the last 24 hours. Special narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances court to hear the bail petition of Aryan Khan and others in the Mumbai drugs case. NCB also to file its reply regarding the matter before the court. In China, several killed, millions affected due to unseasonal heavy rains and flooding in North Shanxi province. Heavy rains in province known for coal mining comes amid mounting concern over energy supplies as the country heads into winter. In IPL Playoffs, Kolkata to face Delhi in the second qualifier, winner to meet Chennai in the title clash. In football, Cristiano Ronaldo nets a hat-trick as Portugal thrashed Luxembourg final in World Cup qualifying clash. In other encounter, England held to a 1-1 draw, especially when it comes to the outing against Hungary. Maha Ashtami being celebrated with traditional fervor across the country. Devotees worship Ma Durga. President PM extend greetings and best wishes to all citizens living in India and abroad. Durga Puja festivities also in Bangladesh and China. Those were the top of the headlines at this point of time. Let's now get into the stories in detail, starting first up with the Prime Minister's event that's going to begin in a short while from now. In a historic event for the infrastructure landscape of the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will today launch PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan for Multimodal Connectivity. PM Gati Shakti will break departmental silos and institutionalize holistic planning for stakeholders across major infrastructure projects. All departments will now have visibility of each other's project through a centralized portal. Multimodal connectivity especially will be provided and will integrate seamless connectivity for movement of people, goods and services. PM Gati Shakti will generate multiple employment opportunities, cut down the cost of logistics, improve supply chains and make local goods globally competitive. Gati Shakti is based on 6 pillars. These are comprehensiveness, prioritization, optimization, synchronization, analytical tools and dynamic platform. PM will also inaugurate the new exhibition complex at Pragati Maidan. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs at CCEA, chaired by Prime Minister, has approved the proposal of the Department of Fertilizers for the fixation of nutrient-based subsidy rates for P&K fertilizers for the year 2021-22 from the 1st of October. Total amount of rollover will be 28,602 crores. This will enable the smooth availability of all P&K fertilizers to the farmers during the Rabi season of 2021-22. At a subsidized and affordable prices, fertilizers and will support the agriculture sector by continuing the present subsidy levels and giving special packages of additional subsidy for diammonium phosphate and 3 mostly consumed NPK grades. The CCA also approved the inclusion of potash derived from molasses under the NBS scheme. Union Cabinet has also approved the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation 2.0, Amrit 2.0 till 2025-26. The Cabinet said providing reliable and affordable water supply and sanitization services to urban households is a national priority. The decision is a step forward towards Atmanirbhar Bharat and with the aim of making the cities water secure and self-sustainable through a circular economy of water. This will be achieved by providing functional tap connections and to all households, undertaking water resource conservation, rejuvenation of water bodies, wells and reuse of treated used water and rainwater harvesting. Amrit Mission was launched in June 2015 to help the ease of living to citizens in 500 cities by providing tap connections and sewer connections. So far, more than 1 crore 10 lakh households have got tap connections and 85 lakh sewer connections have been provided under the scheme. Taking forward the remarkable stride made under Amrit and Amrit 2.0 targets universal coverage of water supply by providing household tap connections in all 4,378 statutory towns. The mission targets to provide 2 crore 68 lakh tap connections and 2 crore 64 lakh sewer and septic connections to achieve the intended outcomes. Union Cabinet has approved the continuation of Swachh Bharat Mission Urban till 2025-26 with a focus on sustainability of open defecation-free outcomes. A financial outlay of 1,41,600 crore rupees has been finalized for Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0. This includes a central share of 36,465 crore rupees for the period 2021-22 to 25-26, which is over 2.5 times the financial outlay of around 62,000 crore rupees in the last phase of the mission. Over the next 5 years, the focus of the mission will be on sustaining the sanitization and solid waste management outcomes. This will accelerate the momentum gained and generated to achieve a garbage-free urban India. The mission will focus on ensuring complete access to sanitization facilities to serve additional population migrating from rural to urban areas in search of employment and better opportunities over the next 5 years. This will be done through the construction of over 350,000 individual, community and public toilets. The Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister also gave a green signal to the proposal to affiliate 100 government and private schools with the Sainik School Society run by the Defence Ministry. They will admit 5,000 students in Class 6 from the next academic year 2022-23. These schools will function as an exclusive vertical which will be distinct and different from the existing Sainik schools. In the first phase, 100 affiliate partners are proposed to be drawn from states, NGOs and private partners. Marching ahead in tune with the National Education Policy or NEP, the government has decided to provide an increased focus on value-based education, enabling children to develop pride in the rich culture and heritage of the nation, effective leadership and character, discipline, sense of national duty and patriotism. Beginning from the academic year 2022-23, approximately 5,000 students are expected to receive admission in Class 6 in such 100 affiliated schools. At present, the existing 33 Sainik schools have an admission capacity of approximately 3,000 students in Class 6. An update now on the nationwide vaccination drive in India. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has achieved the 96 crore landmark. Over 96 crore 43 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far across the country. More than 50 lakh 63,000 vaccine doses were administered in the last 24 hours. India continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic with timely tracing, tracking and treating. The country has managed to contain the spread of COVID-19. India's recovery rate is the highest since March 2020 and is currently at 98.06%. In the last 24 hours, 22 lakh 844 patients have recovered from 15,823 new cases in the last 24 hours in India. When it comes to COVID-19, India's total active cases account for less than 1% of the total cases. Active cases the lowest since March 2020, now at 0.61%. Active case the lowest in 214 days, now stands at 2,07,653. Weekly positivity rate below 3% for the last 110 days, now stands at 1.46%. Positivity rate daily less than 3% for the last 44 days, now at 1.19%. Testing capacity ramped up in the country at this point of time. Over close to 60 crore tests being conducted, especially when it comes to COVID-19 across the length and breadth of the country. 13,25,399 samples tested for COVID-19 on Tuesday. So far, the total samples tested in India stand at over 58 crores, 63,63,442. Recovery rate the highest since March 2020, currently at 98.06%. The University Grants Commission or UGC has extended the date for applicability of PhD as the minimum qualification for recruitment of assistant professors in university from July 2021 to July 2023. The decision comes amid the COVID-19 pandemic that brought the research work of PhD students to a standstill in the last 1.5 years. The decision will provide relief to the candidates who could not complete their PhD due to the pandemic by allowing them to apply for the post of assistant professors in departments of universities till 1st of July 2023. In 2018, the UGC set the criteria for recruitments of entry-level posts at universities and colleges. It gave a 3-year window to candidates to complete their PhDs and asked all universities and colleges to start applying the criteria for recruitment in the 2021-2022 academic session. India has for the first time highlighted the phenomena of Hindu phobia witnessed in certain countries, especially in the neighborhood. Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan said that the continuous destruction of Hindu temples, attacks on gurudwaras, murders by entering temples and gurudwaras are proof of this growing phenomena of Hindu phobia. Addressing the UNSC high-level open debate on peace building and sustaining peace, V. Muralidharan said that the spread of terrorism in Africa is a serious concern, but it is even more unfortunate that terrorist groups are getting encouragement from member states which seek to divide communities by legitimizing terrorist activities. He has urged the United Nations to adopt the global counter-terrorism strategy as a template and not encourage, even indirectly, attempts by member states to justify terrorism. He added that the inability to even acknowledge emerging forms of religious phobias, including those directed at Hindus, Buddhists and Sikhs, only makes such behaviors more acceptable.
We are witnessing how member states are facing newer form of religious phobias. While we have condemned anti-Semitism, Islamophobia and Christianophobia, we fail to recognize that there are more virulent forms of religious phobias emerging and taking roots, including anti-Hindu, anti-Buddhist and anti-Sikh phobias. We have seen in our own neighborhood and elsewhere the destruction of temples, glorification of breaking of idols in temples, violation of Gurudwara premises, massacre of Sikh pilgrims in Gurudwaras, destruction of Bamiyan Buddhas and other religious iconic sites.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Tuesday arrived in Armenia on his last leg of his three-nations tour of Central Asia with the aim to further expand bilateral ties and discuss key regional issues including the development in Afghanistan. Dr. Jaishankar, who arrived in Armenia from Kazakhstan, was welcomed by his Armenian counterpart Ararat Mirzoyan and at the airport. During his visit, Dr. Jaishankar will hold talks with his counterpart and call on Prime Minister of Armenia Nikol Pashinyan and Speaker of the National Assembly Alan Shimon. Taking to Twitter, the External Affairs Minister said, and I quote, "Delighted to arrive in Armenia on a first ever foreign minister's visit. So glad to see a historical connection with my home state." Army Chief General M.M. Narwane will meet Sri Lankan top civil and military leadership during his 4-day visit to Sri Lanka with an aim to strengthen India-Sri Lanka military ties. The Army Chief will discuss ways to further enhance bilateral defence cooperation during his visit. Along with this, he will also meet Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapakse and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapakse. The defence and security ties between India and Sri Lanka are getting stronger. At present, the armies of both the countries are conducting a massive military exercise with a focus on enhancing counter-terrorism cooperation. The 8th edition of Mitra Shakti exercise, which began on October 3rd at the Combat Training School in Ampara in Sri Lanka, will continue till October 15th. Moving on, a special narcotics, drugs and psychotropic substance act court in Mumbai will today hear the bail plea of Aryan Khan, accused in the Mumbai cruise drugs bust case. The court had earlier asked the Narcotics Control Bureau to file its reply and argue in the same matter in the second half. A Mumbai magistrate court had on October 7 sent Aryan, son of Bollywood star Shah Rukh Khan, and 7 others to judicial custody for 14 days. The Esplanade Court on October 8 rejected the bail plea of Aryan Khan, Arbaz Seth Merchant and Munmun Damecha in the case related to the seizure of drugs following a raid at a party on the cruise ship off the Mumbai coast. Well, time now for us to head into a short breather here on News on the Hour. Lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned. Keep watching DD India.
Namaste India.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes land.
نحن هنود.
India.
ما हिंदी हस्ती.
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Let's now take a look at some international stories, especially with our neighbors China, that seems to be affected by unprecedented rains. In China's Shanxi province, several people have died during incessant heavy rain and flooding. Normal dry regions of the country have received 3 months of rain in a mere 1 week. Lives of over 1.75 million residents from 76 cities and districts have been disrupted by the natural calamity. According to the Provincial Emergency Management Department, as many as 1,200,000 people have been temporarily evacuated. Around 1,900,000 hectares of crops were damaged and more than 17,000 houses have collapsed due to heavy rains. A level 4 emergency flood response has been activated in the district. The province also issued a level 3 emergency response for natural disasters. Prices of coal used in China's power plants surged to a new record high due to the flooding in the country's key mining regions. In Shanxi province, at least 60 coal mines have suspended operations due to the floods. On Tuesday, thermal coal at the Zhengzhou Commodity Exchange rose by over 10%. On Spanish island of La Palma, over 700 residents were ordered to abandon their homes as red-hot lava advanced towards their neighborhood. The rivers of molten magma descended from the Cumbre Vieja volcano in the northeast of the Canary Island, following which residents were asked to vacate their residence with their belongings and pets. About 6,700 people have been evacuated from their homes on La Palma, which has about 83,000 inhabitants. There were 64 seismic movements on Tuesday, the strongest measuring 4.1, the Spanish National Geological Institute said. Meanwhile, Spain's military emergency unit forces cleared volcanic ash from the roofs of buildings affected by the volcanic eruption on the island of La Palma. Officers used shovels to clear the accumulated ash in the villages of Las Manchas, located near the Cumbre Vieja volcano. Demonstrators, meanwhile, gathered in different cities of Bolivia on Tuesday to celebrate the indigenous Whip-Hala flag and to show support to Bolivian President Luis Arce. During the great Whip-Lazo, sympathizers of the mass ruling party arrived at La Paz, where Arce gave a speech at the San Francisco Square. On Monday, protesters marched against a legislation that would give the Bolivian government power to investigate private assets of citizens. Critics of Arce are skeptical of the legislation that could see authorities being given the power to investigate the private assets of citizens without an order from the court. In 2009, former President Evo Morales ordained the Whip-Hala flag as a national symbol. It is regarded as important as the traditional national flag. In the recently held Iraq parliamentary election, results show Shiite Muslim cleric Muqtada al-Sadr's party emerging the biggest winner. While some Iraqis were rejoicing, others expressed anger at the country's shifting fate. In Baghdad, Sadr city, many expressed support, saying they only have faith in the Sadrist movement. Others expressed less enthusiasm, saying there will be reform only if the people rise against the political elite. In the southern city of Basra, around 300 agitators gathered to protest the election results and lamenting their candidate's loss. Chancellor Angela Merkel said Germany is not yet prepared to recognize the Taliban as Afghanistan's government since it had not met the inclusiveness standards demanded of it. She, however, reaffirmed Berlin's promise of 600 million euros aid to Afghanistan that has been facing a severe economic and humanitarian crisis. Speaking with members of the G20 groups of major economies via video conferencing, Merkel also said leaders should demand United States agencies to be given full access to provide humanitarian aid. Iran has sent a plane carrying aid packages to Afghanistan's Kunduz airport on Tuesday. Local officials said the supplies of food and medicines were primarily intended for the families of the victims of the Sayyid Abad mosque blast in Kunduz province last week. A suicide bomber attacked the mosque in Afghanistan's northeastern Kunduz province on the 8th of October, killing scores of worshippers in the country's third attack in a week on a religious institution. Islamic State claimed responsibility for the attack, while the state-run Bakhtar news agency said 46 people killed and wounded 143. Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi said that the group of 20 rich countries need to maintain contact with Afghanistan's Taliban government. He, however, said maintaining contact does not mean the Kabul administration will be formally recognized. Speaking after chairing the special G20 summit on the Afghan crisis, Draghi said that the virtual meeting had been a success despite the absence of key leaders.
We have to answer the humanitarian crisis. That's the very first thing. If that requires, and it will require contacts with the Taliban. There's no alternative to having contacts with them. They are essential for this answer, for this response to be effective. That doesn't imply a recognition. A recognition will have to acknowledge that the Taliban will be judged for what their deeds are, not their words. Recognition means, at least by most of the G20 countries, means that progress has been made exactly along the words and the commitments the Taliban government took a few days ago.
Well, heading for a short breather here again on News on the Hour. Lots more lined up from international news, sports, business. Lots to look forward to there. Markets globally, they're showing a negative trend, but Indian markets very much upbeat. We'll get you IMF projections. Lots to look forward to in the next 30 minutes. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back after this short breather.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Now taking a look at global numbers when it comes to COVID-19, on how the world is facing the pandemic. Total number of cases over 23 crore 94 lakh. Total recoveries, when one looks at that particular screen, the big positive or the big consoling factor when one looks at those screen is that 21 crore 68 lakh people have fought the virus and are still alive. When one looks at fatalities, the number of people who have lost their fight against COVID-19, over 48 lakh 81,000 people have died. United States, one of the worst affected by the pandemic right from the beginning to the current phase of Delta variant troubling United States of America. The cases now exceeding 4 crore 54 lakh. The death toll now over 7 lakh 37,000. Boeing company's US-based employees will now be required to show proof of COVID-19 vaccination or have an approved medical or religious exemption by December 8 to comply with President Joe Biden's order for federal contractors. The US plane maker follows American Airlines and aircraft parts manufacturer Spirit AeroSystems in announcing that it would comply with the executive order. Last week, President Biden said more U.S. businesses should obligate workers to receive COVID-19 vaccinations, calling the move vital to ending the pandemic and sustaining the economy. Well, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki has said that the Texas Governor Greg Abbott's executive order barring employers and others from imposing a COVID-19 vaccine mandate is out of step with businesses in the state. Abbott, responding to what he called bullying by President Joe Biden's administration on prohibited all vaccine or COVID-19 vaccine mandates in the state by any entity, including private employers. Psaki said Abbott's decision was motivated by politics, not science.
I think it's pretty clear when you make a choice that's against all public health information and data out there, it's not based on what is in the interest of the people you are governing. It's perhaps in the interest of your own politics.
Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia needed to speed up its COVID-19 vaccination campaign as the country recorded its highest single-day death toll since the start of the pandemic. Speaking to newly elected lawmakers, Putin urged them to actively support efforts to have more of the population vaccinated. The Kremlin had blamed the rising cases numbers to insufficient number of people getting inoculated. Russia on Tuesday reported 973 coronavirus-related deaths, its highest single-day toll since the start of the pandemic. The country has reported 28,190 new infections. The Spanish Coast Guard rescued 91 migrants off the Canary Islands on Tuesday. One migrant boat had 43 adult males and a second carried 48 adult males. They were all transferred to the port of Arguin in a Spanish maritime rescue ship. Spain's Canary Islands have experienced a surge in seaborne migration that has seen thousands make the dangerous crossing from Africa to the Atlantic archipelago. More than 13,100 migrants had arrived by sea to the Canaries archipelago by September 30th, more than double the number of in the equivalent period in October 2020. Over 23,000 migrants arrived in the archipelago in 2020, which marked an 8-fold increase from 2019 and was one of the busiest years for such crossings in the past decade. Strom Pamela, that weakened on Tuesday in the path towards Mexico's western coast, will strengthen into a hurricane again before it hits the coast on Wednesday. The U.S. National Hurricane Center has predicted that Strom Pamela will crash into the fertile state of Sinaloa in Mexico. The storm was located about 240 miles southwest of a major beach resort of Mazatlan. Pamela is expected to drench Sinaloa, which in recent months had suffered dry weather, seen as potentially hurting agricultural production. Sinaloa is the country's top grower of corn and a major producer of tomatoes and other fruits that figure prominently in the country's agricultural exports to the United States. As Day of the Dead approaches in Mexico, streets, homes and altars start to get covered in bright orange flowers of the Mexican marigold. Marigold, or Cempasúchil as they are called in Mexico, are known as the flower of the dead. Their scent is believed to attract the souls and draw them back. Day of the Dead is a celebration of life and death on 2nd of November. This year, Mexicans will celebrate the Day of the Dead. On this day, Mexicans remember and honor the deceased loved ones. They visit cemeteries, decorate the graves, and spend time there in the presence of their deceased family members and friends. They also make elaborate decorated altars in their homes to welcome the spirits. Last year, marigold producers in Mexico City weren't able to sell their flowers due to the restrictions imposed to halt the spread due to COVID-19. This year, producers are hoping their sales will see a big increase. Well, some business buzz now. The Democratic-controlled U.S. House of Representatives gave the final approval on Tuesday to a Senate-passed bill temporarily raising the government's borrowing limit to $28.9 trillion, putting off the risk of default at least until early December. Democrats, who narrowly controlled the House, maintained party discipline to pass the hard-fought $480 billion debt limit, increased by 219 to 206 votes. The vote was along party lines, with every yes for Democrats and every no from Republicans. President Joe Biden is expected to sign the measure into law this week before October 18, when the Treasury Department has estimated it would no longer be able to pay the nation's debts without congressional action. House passage warded off concerns that the United States would go into default for the first time, but only for about 7 weeks, setting the stage for continued fight between the two parties. Lawmakers also have only until December 3rd to pass pending legislation to prevent a government shutdown. U.S. stocks, meanwhile, ended lower on Tuesday, with investors jittery in the run-up to the third quarter earnings. The S&P 500 lost 10 points or 0.25 to end at 4,350. Nasdaq Composite lost 20 points or 0.14 to end at 14,466. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 121 or 0.35% to end at 34,374. Domestic equity market benchmarks BSE Sensex and Nifty were trading at fresh records high this morning. BSE Sensex was about 60,600, while the NSE Nifty hit a high of 18,098. Mahindra & Mahindra, Tech Mahindra, Bajaj Auto, Asian Paints, NTPC, L&T, Bajaj Finserv, Kotak Mahindra Bank were the top Sensex gainers. Well, after a look at all the news from the business world, it's time now to take a look at sports stories. But before we do that, it's time for another breather here on the public broadcaster. Lots more lined up on the other side of news on the hour. Stay tuned. Keep watching DD India.
Namaste India.
Namaste land. Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India.
Salam India.
Namaste India.
नमस्कार भारत.
Mui
Nous
India.
sommes l'Inde. نحن هنود.
India.
ما هندي هستي.
Hindiani.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Now news from the world of sports, starting first up with IPL Playoffs, where Kolkata will face Delhi in the qualifier number 2 today. It's going to be a crucial outing there at Sharjah. Delhi lost the first qualifier against Chennai, as a result of which they get a survival, while Kolkata managed to win the eliminator outing against Bangalore to take on Delhi in this outing. The team that wins the outing tonight will take on Chennai in the IPL final. Chennai have already qualified for the final for the 9th time. In football, Cristiano Ronaldo scored a hat-trick as Portugal recorded an emphatic 5-0 World Cup qualifying win over Luxembourg. The victory leaves Portugal second in Group A, a point behind Serbia, who they host in the final game. Ronaldo knocked in 2 penalties and rounded off with a scoring from a header as he recorded his 58th hat-trick for club and country. Bruno Fernandes and Palhinha added the other goals. With this hat-trick, Cristiano Ronaldo has now scored 10 hat-tricks for Portugal and is one of the first players to hit double digits when it comes to hat-tricks playing for one's country. Well, staying with football and staying with the European football and World Cup qualifiers, England's path to the 2022 World Cup hit an unexpected roadblock when they stumbled as they were held to a 1-1 draw by Hungary in a qualifier that their manager Gareth Southgate called as a big disappointment. The game was marred by crowd violence between Hungary fans and stewards and policemen. Southgate side are still in pole position to reach Qatar, but this was a disjointed display despite England taking on the Hungarians with an attacking lineup. England are 3 points above second place Poland with 2 qualifiers to go next month. Maha Ashtami, or the 8th day of Navratri festival, is being celebrated across the country with religious gaiety. This day is dedicated to Lourdes Maha Gauri, the 8th avatar of Ma Durga. This is the most important day of Durga Puja, also known as Durga Ashtami, as it celebrates the victory of the goddess over Mahishasura. Today's celebration marks the triumph of good over evil. President Ramnath Kovind extended greetings and best wishes to all fellow citizens living in India and abroad on the occasion of Durga Ashtami. The President in his message said, and I quote, "On the occasion of this festival, let us resolve to build a society where women are best served with higher respect than before and equal participation in the process of nation building. I pray to God that this joyous festival is marked by the spirit of peace, fraternity and unity among the citizens, and to rededicate ourselves to the service and progress of our nation." Prime Minister Narendra Modi has extended Maha Ashtami greetings to the nation. In his tweet, he says, and I quote, "On this auspicious day of Navratri, this is a tradition of worship Mahagauri. May everyone's life be illuminated with her blessings." Special prayers were held in Belur Math in West Bengal this morning. However, the premises remain shut for devotees to avoid crowding. Durga Puja celebrations started in Belur Math by Swami Vivekanand. On Ashtami, 9 small pots with flags of different colors attached are installed and 9 Shaktis are invoked in them and worshipped. Worship of a young girl treating her as Devi is also part of Ashtami Puja. When Durga Puja was done at Belur Math for the first time, Swami Vivekanand worshipped several Kumaris. Now only one Kumari is worshipped. Durga Puja festival is being held in the temple like last time, with resident monks participating with COVID rules in place. All prayers are being live streamed for devotees to participate virtually. Well, as the country celebrates the auspicious occasion of Navratri and Durga Puja, Padma Shri awardee artist Sudarshan Patnaik has created a sand art of goddess Durga with seashells at the Puri beach in Odisha. Durga Puja celebrations are also going on with great fervor and religious enthusiasm in more than 32,000 mandaps across Bangladesh. The Saptami Puja was observed on Tuesday in Dhaka and other towns. Let's take a look at these visuals of the Saptami Puja celebrations from Bangladesh. The festival of Dussehra celebrating the victory of good over evil was celebrated at the Indian Embassy in Beijing with great enthusiasm. Around 2,000 people, including a large number of Beijing-based diplomats, Chinese people and members of the Indian diaspora took part in the Dussehra Mela organized at India House on Sunday, which was the crowning glory of Amrit Mahotsav celebrations in Beijing.
O Sri Ram. Prabhu, Ravan, the demon king, kidnapped Mother Sita and took her to his kingdom, Lanka.
Highlight of the cultural program was the stage performance of Ram Leela by the Indian community members, the fireworks display and the burning of effigy of Ravan, which received a thunderous applause from Beijing-based diplomatic corps, officials of Chinese think tank and members of the Indian diaspora who immersed themselves in Indian culture. Well, time now for us to head into another short breather here on News on the Hour. Lots more lined up on the other side. The Prime Minister's big ticket event coming in a short while from now. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back after this short breather here on DD India.